What is the mental load? Women feel it and are overwhelmed by it, and men struggle to understand it. If you're anything like the hundreds of thousands of women in my community, you might struggle with getting your partner to really understand the nuance about the mental load. You might hear things like, hey, just make me a list, or tell me what to do, or I'm trying to help, but it's like you're still overwhelmed no matter what I do. So in this video, I want to explain clearly what the mental load is and why it is different than a simple list of tasks that need to be completed. The reason why this is so important is because if she's overwhelmed, if you're overwhelmed with the mental load and your partner doesn't understand it, then they can't jump in and help do anything about it. And a mental load that is handled unfairly will start to erode closeness in your relationship. It will totally take a hit on your sex life and can easily lead to resentment. So stay tuned for a clear definition on what the mental load is that you can share with your partner, because this video will not stir up defensiveness. My name is Dr. Morgan Cutlip. I have a PhD in psychology and I've been in the field of relationships for over 20 years. I'm the author of 2 books, one for moms called Love Your Kids Without Losing Yourself, and a second book on the mental load called A Better Share: How Couples Can Tackle the Mental Load for More Fun, Less Resentment, and Great Sex. If you love this video, I'd love for you to share it with somebody who needs this information. Hit subscribe and follow along for more practical tools on how to master your relationship with yourself and your partner. All right, we are going to start with a broad definition of the mental load, and then I'm going to take you a little bit into the weeds, but it's worth making it till the end because this is going to really show what's different about a simple to-do list of tasks that need completed and the actual mental load that drains your energy, that leads to disconnection and resentment in your relationship. So stay tuned. Okay, the broad definition of the mental load is that it's an invisible running to-do list that exists inside of someone's mind that occupies cognitive real estate. What does this mean? This means that it takes up space in your brain, crowding out other things in your life, like having the energy to get in the mood for sex, like being able to remember things, like being able to manage your emotions and regulate yourself, to exercise patience. All of these things are actually impacted in a pretty negative way when you have a full mental load because you just don't have the capacity for one more thing. A really key component of the mental load is that it's invisible. This invisibility piece, it makes it really hard to define. It makes it hard for our partners to see. The problem is when it's invisible, our partners aren't able to step in and either offer appreciation and acknowledgement or to step in and actually take initiative to do the things. So this invisibility piece becomes a major barrier to getting your partner on board, to understanding what the mental load is so you can find a better share and a fairer way to divide the responsibilities of the home and family life, to feel like you have a partner and a teammate, not just another person you're coaching, or maybe even worse, another child. So understanding this broad definition is one step in the right direction to understanding the mental load. It is invisible and it takes up cognitive real estate, and this cognitive real estate crowds out having the energy to do other things. All right, now let's get in the weeds. This is going to be a really aha light bulb moment for you. Okay, so let's get into the weeds on really understanding the mental load at a deeper level. This is going to be the missing piece. If you've just like, I just don't get it, this is going to be the missing piece. And if you're somebody who carries the bulk of the mental load, this is going to explain why it's really hard to turn it off and why it's so overwhelming. One of the trickiest parts of explaining it to a partner is that when you list out the things that are occupying your mental space or your mental load, they seem really doable. They seem manageable. Like, big deal, you have to pick up the kids, make dinner, sign the permission slips. What's the big deal? That's life. Life's busy. Make a list, knock it out. You got this, right? It's easy to minimize it because you don't have the deeper understanding of what's going on behind the scenes and all that's involved in each and every one of these tasks. So stick with me. This is really important. Okay, when it comes to the mental load, there are 3 domains of tasks. The first is the physical domain. This is where men tend to really thrive when they say, make me a list, and then they work through their list. All the things on the list are likely physical tasks. This is things like making dinner. This is something like mowing the lawn. You get the idea. Laundry. Just very much the physical act of carrying out the task. The second domain is the mental. Now, this is like making the list. So this might be making a grocery list or making a list of like emails you need to respond to. When it comes to work mental load, because everybody does have a mental load. Everybody does. Our kids have a mental load. When it comes to the mental load at work, a lot of times it falls either into the physical or the mental domain, or in this intersection of a little bit of both. But a lot of the work mental load really exists here, the thinking through and the making lists. Now, the last domain of the mental load is the emotional. This one is really the kicker. This is also known as invisible or emotional labor of the home and family life. So what this involves is really the regular mental calculations, cause and effect calculations that are made regularly in an attempt to maximize positive experiences of members of the family. So this is anticipating needs, anticipating desires, intuiting things, and then taking action on these things. There are a couple things that make the emotional labor incredibly unique. One, it requires a deep knowing of members of the family. Because it requires a deep knowing, it's incredibly hard to outsource. You can't just hire someone to think about the emotional needs or anticipate the emotional needs of your family members. The other thing is it's really hard to even outsource to your partner because you're doing all these mental calculations, you're anticipating things, it requires this deep knowing. If they don't have the same sense of knowing, if they don't do the calculations in the same way, then it might feel kind of insecure, or you might feel like difficulty trusting your partner to do things as well in this domain or to think through situations as thoroughly as you do. The last piece about the emotional labor that's very tricky is that it follows you everywhere. It never ends. You can't escape it. Your kids are grown, your family's grown, you're still doing this type of stuff. So you can be working out of the home, full-time, in an office or wherever you work, and you can be whiplashed back into the mental load because the emotional pieces never actually leave you. They're always with you. And so it's hard to get a break. So if you're sitting on the couch trying to enjoy a movie, your whole family's watching a movie, and you are whiplashed back into, oh my gosh, I got to move the laundry over, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to think about researching our kid might have ADHD, how do I do whatever it is, right? You're pulled back into it and out of the present moment. This is why the mental load is so overwhelming. This is why it's so draining. And this is why, if you're watching this and learning about it, about your partner, maybe directed you to this video, this is why they often can't seem to get relief when you just maybe take care of one of the physical aspects of the mental load. So I'm going to walk you through an example, and we're going to really hammer this home so you can actually see how it works. And when you understand this, it can empower you as a partner to either explain it to your partner, or it can empower you to step in, to take more initiative, to offer more empathy, to give them more appreciation and acknowledgement. So this becomes a very important piece to understand. All right, let's work through that example. Okay, so let's walk through an example. A really easy one is cooking dinner. Now this is just dinner. We eat more meals in a day. So just know this is one little piece. Okay, so let's talk about the mental part of cooking dinner. So it might be making a list of ingredients. Now, the other, before we get to lists of ingredients, the physical, researching recipes. Okay, making the list of ingredients. Another physical is going to be actually going to the store. So going shopping. Now, you're also going to have to actually cook the meal. So it's going to be, the chopping, the washing, the cooking, the actual act of making dinner. So we have our list of ingredients is one of the mental ones, researching recipes that actually could go in either one, going shopping, cooking, chopping, all of the things. And you have the cleanup after. So lots of physical. But now let's talk about the emotional. The emotional part of dinner time is, again, remember, thinking through the cause and effect experience of members in the family. So it might be the figuring out of meals that fit everyone's dietary preferences. Now, if you have picky eaters, it might be the picky eater issues. Picky, talking and spelling. Tricky. So the picky eater issues, the dietary preferences, who's going to eat what, how do I think about what's a nutritious meal for my members of my family? How do I make sure everybody gets enough of what they need? Oh, like I think our son is kind of thin, trying to get enough fat, fill him up. Also, if kids don't eat good dinners, they can become dysregulated. So how do I make sure they get enough food? What am I going to make that's going to give them enough food to keep them in a good mood, right? To help them regulate, to set them up for success. What do I do about our decisions about snacking before or after dinner? Because if you have kids like mine, or my son specifically, he will eat dinner and then 5 minutes later want a snack, but maybe he didn't finish his dinner. So how are you going to handle these things? So I could go on and on and on with the emotional aspects of the mental load and just dinner time, because there are so many cause and effect analyses that we're often thinking about to make sure our family members are well cared for. Now, remember what I said. The simple act of cooking dinner includes every single aspect of the mental load or the triple threat. So why is cooking dinner kind of exhausting? Because it's not just cooking dinner. It's doing all of these other things that take up cognitive real estate, take up energy, and can actually wear us out. And it's all invisible. So it's hard to explain. Now, if you think about this, what I'm essentially doing is I'm unpacking one task of the mental load. There are thousands upon thousands of tasks that are required to be completed to take care of a family. And so if you take each one of those tasks and you were to unpack each and every one, you can quickly see why you are feeling overwhelmed, or maybe your partner is often feeling overwhelmed, or even if not overwhelmed, at capacity. Like you're so full because you have all of this swirling around in your head most or all of the time. It is a lot to carry. So I want you to start thinking about items in your home, items in a pantry or in a fridge or a pillow on a couch or bedding on someone's bed. If you start to unpack these things, you'll start to see the physical, the mental, and the emotional labor that went into each item that results in a physical manifestation of something in your home that often completely gets unacknowledged, flies under the radar, is not appreciated, if even noticed. So I'm not pointing fingers. I'm hoping this video is just a clear explanation, one, as to why you may have not have fully understood when your partner talked about the mental load, and two, so that you might understand more at a deeper level why you feel so overwhelmed. So you can offer yourself some compassion, not any judgment, but understand, yeah, it makes sense, because the majority of the items I'm taking care of in our home and family life are triple threat items that are pulling from all of these different domains and really, really exhausting my mental capacity as well as your energy. So I hope you found this helpful. This is from my book, A Better Share: How Couples Can Tackle the Mental Load for More Fun, Less Resentment, and Great Sex. I hope you check it out. I'm going to link it in the show notes below. I hope you check it out. I'm going to link it below. It comes out April 8th. And so, let's see. I'm going to link it in the notes below. This book is so helpful in positioning This book is different because the majority of content out there on the mental load is going to say your partner is the problem. They are the one who needs to step up. They're not doing enough. They're getting it wrong. They're letting you down. And there are some parts of that. There are some parts where one partner might need to step up a little bit more. But nobody changes. No relationship gets better through accusations and being put on your defense. This book is different because the majority of content out there on the mental load will say that it's one person, one partner's problem. They need to step up. They need to do more. And if they did more, this wouldn't be an issue in the relationship. And I want to say that sometimes that's true, but a lot of times there's actually way more involved. When the mental load isn't handled fairly, it results in deep, entrenched resentments in the relationship will start to affect every aspect of your relationship. This is why it makes it hard to unwind and get your closeness and connection back. You have to start thinking of the mental load as the enemy. It is hustle culture, societal expectations, the feeling of always having to be in go mode, to always be productive. It's all these things, the demands on modern family life. That is the enemy. It's not your partner. My book will show you exactly how to get your relationship back, help you work on the same team again, and finally find that closeness and connection you've been missing in your relationship. I hope you check it out. Hope you follow along for more practical tips about your relationship.